Welcome to it, Sunday Live here with the Average Joe Sports Show. Bill Doleman, the Iron Horse. Gary Sharp, Pride of Fairbury, Bill Doleman. Elijah Herbel, the number one Denver Bronco fan in Nebraska. Chris Schmidt.
Go Cowboys.
Dog catcher. Not yet, but we are ready to go at Nebraska handling Northwestern yesterday, 28-21. SC waits on Saturday night. Fellas, how are we? A whole different tune than last Sunday. God love all three of you. And Nebraska fans, a chance to sigh a little bit, a little sigh of relief with that game was pretty wild. And you know what? Nebraska found a way back to gritty football, fellas.
Hey, can we have, since this is Sunday and some of you gone to church, some of you never go to church, doesn't
I streamed
matter. You gotta do what you do. Can we have a little sermon here? Can we have a little hallelujah to kick off a Sunday? Can we have a little God bless Mike Eckler? Can we have that? Can I get that from the congregation? That
Amen.
In this wonderful state that we live in, this wonderful football program that puts us through all kinds of hell, all right, that we have this shining light that has come back to the state. Now, we overlook the fact that he went and played college football at Kansas State, but he's one of ours. His dad plays cards on the weekend. He's got buddies in Fremont that he loves to play cards with. And Mike Eckler found his way back to Nebraska, and he walked into the football facility and said, "Praise Jesus, I'm home." And Matt Rule said, thank you, because 6-2, probably with Easy Ed running the special teams, is maybe a 4-4 football team with minimal hope to win close games. But our brother, our man, our guy who worships the special teams and might be the Kurt Signetti of special teams coaching, Mike Eckler, has helped Nebraska football be part of a 6-2. Who the hell knows what's going to happen from week to week football team, but I'm here for it. Thank you, Mike Eckler. Can I get a hallelujah?
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Yeah.
Right. Now I like to refer to him as Vice Chancellor of Special Teams at the University of Nebraska Lincoln, Mike Eckler, and I would vote for tenure now. And he has changed it. Although I think Matt Rule was ready to fire him after the kickoff return for the touchdown, the way he was going down the sidelines, and Rule pushed him off like, okay, we got it, fine.
Yeah, you know what? You don't, man. You can't be doing that to Mike Eckler. You got to let Eckler cook. But I did see that. There were a lot of interesting things that happened on the sidelines, like away from the play on the field. That one, which you're right, Bill, like Rule kind of got in Eckler's face because the official was giving it to Eckler. And I think Rule was trying to calm down Eckler, which is not easy. And just say, hey, Mr. Official, it's okay. And then, the great Big Ten officiating with all this money that they have, that they've invested back into officiating so that every week there is above board and we go, oh, man, we got the best officials in the league along with the best play. The conversation that occurred in the second half during, if you were at the game, you might have saw it, but if you're watching on TV, you never saw it. The referee was summoned to the sidelines over by the Northwestern sideline to talk to a Lancaster County sheriff. And it was a long conversation. Like it was like four officials and the white hat were over there, but win is a win. 6-2 with 4 to go.
Yeah, I saw that conversation on the sideline.
What's going on with the sheriff?
Okay.
What are you hearing?
Okay, so here's what happened. There was quite a bit of angst yesterday towards the officiating.
Yes.
There was a person on the Northwestern sideline, not in the Northwestern sideline box area, but somebody that was credentialed, that had a credential around their neck. I don't know if it was media. I don't know if it was team issued, whatever. Told the female official on that side of the field that she blankety, 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 blank. And she told one of the other officials who alerted some security on the sidelines. And so they were just letting the official know that how it was going to be handled. Now, I guess on the radio broadcast, somebody, after I tweeted out what I had witnessed, somebody on the radio broadcast said you could hear it in the background. Somebody says, you got to get him out of here. So I don't know. It it was a rough day for that officiating crew on both sides. I mean, Nebraska and Northwestern both benefited from shoddy officiating, and they both got dinged by some shoddy officiating.
I believe what was said by the fan was that I am displeased with the officiating today, and I hope that you will do a much better job. That's what. That's all it was.
Telling me.
Hey, thank you for the officials, because that was a sleepy little crowd at 11 a.m. And because they got off to a bad start, the fans were like, "All right, let's go after the officials," and it added some juice to the ballpark.
It did.
Well, the officials got off to a bad start, but it was a bad full 4 quarters from the officials. Good luck. Hey, send him a check. Thank you for not calling that holding call on Andrew Marshall in the last play of the game. That kind of made right after a full 4 quarters of bad calls, I felt. I mean, it was both ways, as you said, Gary.
Yeah.
But that was one of the roughest I've seen. And you got to wonder, does the Big Ten do anything about that performance?
I don't know, man. You know, it's on the heels of what the SEC did with the official in the Georgia-Auburn game. I know this seems to be a week-to-week thing, and it's not just a Nebraska thing. And I do believe that at times Rule complains too much. I think he complains too much. And Dannon, got after him. But it's across the board in this league, and this league has to be better in that area. And especially nowadays, where you have people that question the integrity of anything that somebody does. And it's a difficult job. They are human, but there are some things that are very much avoidable. And yesterday, man, spotting the football is a trouble. Just blatant stuff that's in front of you is trouble. Look at the interception that was thrown by Stone. I mean, official got in the way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to just say this. Yesterday was a typical Nebraska Northwestern game since they joined the Big Ten, and especially the games in Lincoln. No game makes sense, and they're all close, and you go, oh my God, how did Nebraska lose that game, or how did they win that game? Not every Nebraska Northwestern game, guys, can be 56-7.
And Northwestern just does this when they're on that kind of bowl chase. The Northwestern teams that aren't 2-10, 3-9, somehow find a way to get to a 6th win. And Nebraska's been the victim a lot of times in those seasons. And Nebraska found a way to kind of make good on their mulligan, right? You were going to go into this game having a chance to see if you can compete, win, and kind of match the physicality and intensity of your opponent. You didn't the previous outing. You did this time. The what if game is fascinating with yesterday because Nebraska's up 21-6, and the spot on that 4th and 2 that ends the drive. Nebraska takes over short field. What do they do with it midway through the 3rd quarter? Do they fire that knockout shot, or not? And clearly we've seen 3 wins this year where you're up double digits and you let the team hang around, and then they eventually either tie you or take the lead on you, and you're forced to make a play at the end. Nebraska did all that, but Nebraska didn't respond after that 4th and 2 missed call. And then Northwestern reels off 15 points. Now, fortunately, Nebraska did respond after an interception. Buda Wright, with a little help or not, made the interception. Then Nebraska capitalizes. Dana did a good job at the play calls. Nebraska was money. Dillon was great. 4 for 4 on 3rd down. But I liked the commitment here. I liked the emphasis to get the run game going early. Emmett's your guy. Don't overthink it. Nebraska didn't. And the secondary made enough plays with a couple of those interceptions. So this is a game at this point in the season you had to have. And what does Saturday mean? It means Nebraska gets to start building some momentum now for November. You got to win versus the feeling you've had the last 7 to 10 days and you weren't sure. It was as nervous and jittery as it's been in a long time around here going into this ball game. And good on Nebraska for making it happen. You had a good 3rd quarter that had eluded you quite a bit. Special teams, as you got the sermon going this morning, Sharpie. Eckler was a difference maker. And then I also want to point out, and I'll shut up, old Donnie Jones. What a good bounce back game for him. Yeah. 7 tackles, interception, was really locked in. So I thought old Jonesy played a hell of a ball game too. But you'll take it, man. And Saturday night's going to be fun. Going to be a ton of fun under the lights. SC's opened at 4.5 as a favorite. I think they're at 6.5 right now. I think if SC's on their game, they're pretty phenomenal. But I think Nebraska's gonna play up to this helmet, and it should be wild Saturday night.
When I was talking to some folks last night and seeing some social media posts, and there seems to be a pretty consistent theme of, man, didn't love how it looked from Nebraska yesterday, but a win is a win. And this team, we know what they are. They have their warts. They have their flaws. This is not a team that is, I think, good enough to go out and blow the doors off of another team that's in the middle class of the Big Ten. And that's what Nebraska had yesterday. Northwestern, they're a team in the middle class of the Big Ten. You have 4 games remaining on your schedule against teams that are in the middle class of the Big Ten. It's going to come down to 5 to 10 plays. And Nebraska won more of the 5 to 10 crucial plays than they lost yesterday. That's going to be the theme for the rest of November as well. It's going to be close football games. It's going to be games that are determined by that small number of important swing plays. And Nebraska's got to go out and win more of those important swing plays than they lose. We'll see. I don't think they go undefeated in November, but I think they'll be in a position to win all 4 of these games remaining on their schedule in November. And it comes down to, how do they handle those crucial moments? Can they win more of those important plays? And you don't know going into a play what an important play is going to be, but can you win more of those plays than you lose? If they do, Nebraska could go 4-0 in November, but we'll see how they perform in those crucial moments and those crucial plays.
I thought last night's game was the first time that they've recaptured a balanced win since the Cincinnati game in Kansas City. To this point in the season, that's been the high mark. And again, I don't count Akron and Houston Christian. Those should have been easy wins, and they were. But I thought the Cincinnati game, they came out and the offense played well, defense played well, special teams were good, and there was balance all around. It wasn't relying on one phase or one person to get that win. And so much emphasis is placed on what's Raiola going to do? What's Raiola going to do? How did he play? And yesterday they dialed him back. He had 22 pass attempts. They didn't put it all on him. He did come through with that fourth quarter drive with the game-winning touchdown, which I thought may have been his most consistent drive. I know he had the win over the drive against Maryland, but I thought that was the most consistent, maybe the headiest that he has played within himself, within the offense, to execute the plays and let other players finish off those 3rd down and 7s. I think Nebraska had 3 3rd down and 7s on that last drive. So he does his part and lets the other person on the other end of it do their part, whether it's twisting for the first down or Dane Key getting an extra couple of yards, or he had the play to get around number 4, the rusher that had him dead in his sights. He stepped around him, delivered the pass. I think that was for 19 to Hunter. I think that was one of the best plays I've ever seen Dylan Raiola have. And it wasn't a spectacular touchdown pass. It was just a heady play. It wasn't all on him. He relied on his receiver. They get the first down, and eventually they get the game-winning touchdown. But I thought that was the most complete, balanced performance by Nebraska since Cincinnati. Does that bode well for USC? I don't know. But that was a very good team win, and I agree with Gary also. The officiating got the crowd into the game, because that was a sleepy crowd. I was worried that they were going to fill in they were going to color all the way to the lines in that student section at Memorial Stadium. Students were like, kickoffs at 11:03. We'll see you at 11:02:35, and they came in, but it was a quiet crowd until the officials juiced them up a little bit.
Yeah, Nebraska's 6-2, and what Elijah was saying, I agree with, and I think this is why I'm kind of enjoying this season a lot. Is they could go 4-0 in November, and they can go 0-4, and they've taken advantage of their schedule. They have a tendency to play to their schedule, outside of the Minnesota game, which, that is all about preparation. If you watch Minnesota play yesterday against Iowa. So I think at this point, I think we'd like the program to be further ahead, where they can find a way to throw the knockout punch, but they're still in a learning curve of learning this part of winning football games that maybe you could trick off and would not win. So I think right now 6-2 is more the focus than the optics of how they got to 6-2, because they are a flawed team, but they find ways to make plays and they find ways to not make plays. And so they're going to play a 4-quarter football game every week. Now, what's going to happen against USC? All I know is that there's areas where I think USC can exploit Nebraska, but this team plays close games. So who the heck knows what's going to happen next Saturday night? But you're right, Schmidt. That's why Nebraska is Nebraska football, and you get 2 helmets on the field. You get a nighttime game, the drone show, the light show, everything else they're going to do, a blackout. I mean, Nebraska's been able to put themselves in a position to be 6-2 against a 5-2 USC team where it's a big deal. And it's going to be on NBC, and it'll be a good showcase, and we'll see what kind of a Nebraska team shows up. But every week they show you something promising, and then every week, guys, they show you that Nebraska still has a problem on the line of scrimmage. And that can't be fixed in this season. They just have to be able to overcome it and make a play at an opportune time. And when they do, they can win football games because they have special teams, which special teams in these games have bailed Nebraska out. I mean, Kenneth Williams, that return just changed the game. It all of a sudden went from Nebraska is terrible in the third quarter to Nebraska played well in the third quarter yesterday. And that hasn't been the case. So it's a lopsided team. But at the end of the day, they're 6-2. And who knows what's going to happen? They could either be 10-2, they could be 6-6, they could be 7-5, they could be 8-4. Buckle up. November's going to be interesting because the front end looks difficult and the back end definitely looks difficult on Black Friday.
Yeah, Iowa was all about it yesterday. They looked incredible. They had bad intentions. They were physical. Their run game was money. They put out Minnesota. And you look at that and you say, how did that team do you like they did? And Iowa looked incredible. And, we'll see if UCLA kind of loses some of their magic after their drubbing. They got annihilated. That's how good Indiana is. We'll see if their confidence is shaken. But they were down before you could blink, so they couldn't do what they wanted to do, and that's run the football. And then, you have Washington that's a completely different team at home.
Yeah.
That went off on Illinois, and just a rugged league. And you better be ready for that ruggedness every weekend. And Nebraska was ready for a tough ball game on Saturday. Guys, Kenneth Williams was phenomenal. Let's talk about what Nebraska has in Emmett Johnson at running back, where he gets just a little bit of daylight, does a lot on his own. Nebraska's had some of their veterans step up. Turner Corcoran yesterday for sure came in, played and helped with that run game. I thought our old boy Rocco Spindler was tremendous. Not just the tone he set, but just how he gutted through 4 quarters of football, and same with Evans. And I thought Lutoski had a pretty good day. So, I mean, you got the yards you needed to get running the football. But the best thing here is maybe it's finally sunk in. Is it a permanent thing that's how you need to lean on your offense? That's what you're going to be as a team that needs to run the football first and then let everything else kind of fan out from it. 2 of their last 3 wins, you started with that emphasis. And Emmett's a guy that has put his time in. He's grinded. He's seeing it pay off. And he is so much fun to watch. He's must-see TV. And Nebraska's not had a back like that since Amir.
Well, he's gotten better as the season has gone on as well.
Yes, he has.
The more carries he's gotten, the more he's settled into his role. I was really impressed yesterday. Even whenever the offensive line did him no favors, his ability to make something out of nothing. I mean, there was one play where he was dead to rights in the backfield. The defensive end comes in unblocked, and he makes a move in the backfield, ends up picking up 5-6 yards. That was a wow play to me. Where I think even the commentators on TV said,
3rd and 4, wasn't it? I mean, it was a huge play.
Yeah, he is special, and as the season's gone on, he's just getting better and better. You hope, Schmitty, that Nebraska has developed something of an offensive identity after yesterday, because we spent a lot of time in the last week talking about what is Nebraska's offensive identity. If yesterday's offensive performance is something that they can bottle up and bring to the rest of November, it means good things for this offense moving forward, because that was the closest thing I think I've felt to, if this is Nebraska's offensive identity, they'll be fine moving forward.
It would be remarkable if Emmett Johnson is an all Big Ten back. I don't know if Nebraska will ever get credit for having a first team all Big Ten running back, but if he's second team, which he should be, and they don't have an offensive lineman anywhere being acknowledged. Now, Evans might be, maybe Rocco, I don't know, but to be an all Big Ten running back, first or second team, and not have an all Big Ten offensive lineman is pretty remarkable. Yeah. A testament to how good he has been, how durable he's been. And I would imagine he had 27 carries yesterday. That he'd probably get 27 from here on out each and every game, plus a couple of pass receptions.
I think he's right now, because he's 5th in the country now in rushing. I think he's first team all Big Ten, and it's not a team award. It's an Emmett award.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Emmett has to do so much on his own to get yards that it is incredible how much he makes something out of nothing. And they tried to help him yesterday. I like some of their run designs, because I don't think they have faith guys still in be able to line up and run the ball. Now, Emmett ran it well between the tackles yesterday, but they had to do, and this is good on the scheme of Holgorsen, you notice they ran a lot of motion. And Northwestern wasn't disciplined on the second level. They would take a guy out of the box, because they would follow either a tight end or, they ran some sizzle with their offense. We finally saw a jet sweep. We saw some other things. I thought Mosey looked good, but I think this is on Emmett. I think if Emmett is first team all Big Ten, yeah, the offensive line deserves some credit, but this is an Emmett award because what he's doing is pretty remarkable on his own. I still don't feel like they trust fully the running game. They trust Emmett, but not the running game to get yardage when they need to get yardage. And I'll pose this question to you guys. And remember, I openly admit this 2 years ago. I was like, I don't know about Emmett. He's completely changed my opinion. Is he the best player on this roster?
I think he's the best option on this roster. And there may be guys that have more home run ability and pick a skill set or a skill position, but he is old, reliable. And I think he is the best option. And I think the thing that separates him is his will. He wants it so bad. He wants to win football games. He doesn't care about the stats. And I know his stats are money, but he just wants to go win. He wants to help the team. I mean, it's selfless. And he's getting his touches, which is great. But he, above all, whatever it takes to win ball games, he has that mentality. So that, to me, is why he's number one, on top of his obvious importance to the offense.
Well, as I watch a game like yesterday, I just question how for the past 3 seasons he wasn't your bell cow. You see that talent, and you saw it stand out like on 2 seasons ago at the end of the year. He kind of took over more carries, and last year at the end of the season took over more carries. The question is, man, how did the coaching staff,
did you whiff,
see that at practice and go, well, that's a third string running back? I don't get that.
I don't know. Who knows?
Well, they started listening to the show, for one, so appreciate them being in the Average Joe Sports Show audience, singing the praises of Emmett Johnson for 3 years now. But
maybe they just finally listened to Coach Ron Brown. Hey, Emmett's a hell of a good ball player. This kid, I was thrust back into recruiting. Maybe we should play the kid. I don't know. Thanks, Ron. Sure, hey, we'll look into it.
If it's not for Ron Brown, Emmett Johnson's not at Nebraska.
He's at South Dakota State.
Yeah.
It was small-time offers aside from Nebraska.
Why?
Well, I think in high school they looked at him as a little bit undersized, and he didn't. So this is the way it was explained to me: is he didn't jump out at you, like you had to go watch him probably play in person. But if you watched him on tape, he probably didn't like flash, and you'd be like, okay, that's a good FCS running back. And I think and Ron Brown didn't watch him play in person, but they went and they also had a couple of connections up in the Twin Cities that Ron had that they said, hey, you got to look at this guy. And they, and you ask right away, well, why isn't Minnesota recruiting him? And, at the time, Emmett wasn't coming here to Nebraska to be the number one guy. They had a couple of guys ahead of him. They had some guys in the hopper. But good on Ron Brown. And then Scott Frost, who said, I see it. Let's offer him a scholarship and get him here. And he has grown. I mean, Emmett, I think, with more opportunities, and his body is right. And also, I will say this, and I don't know, because we don't get a lot of opportunities to talk to Emmett, is that break after the Michigan game, he looks so much different. Like, it almost looks like he's sleeker. I don't know if that's the right word, but he has a lot more pop in his step post the Michigan bye week. Where in the month of October, like he started the year by dancing a lot, but then his dance step wasn't very good. And, they kick him off the ballroom floor because he'd be mowed under. Now, that little dancing that he still does, he's got a jab step and he's off and running. I don't know. Something happened to him after the bye. I mean, nobody's complaining, but I think he's in line to be first team All Big Ten, which I don't know. Why not? He's fifth in the country in rushing on a team that still has, issues consistently running the football, but that's on 21, man. He's a dog. He's the dog they need, and he needs to bring somebody else with him with the offense on a consistent basis in the month of November.
And he could have had another 40 yards rushing yesterday if he hadn't slid down to, keep the clock going there
to make the football play. Yeah, exactly.
But hey, but on another note, I thought Mosey and Nelson contributed yesterday.
Big time.
I thought in their limited roles, they flashed a little bit.
Yeah, I thought Mosey looked more mature, like it kind of figured things out a little bit. I mean, you're throwing him in there at the beginning of the season, and he's wide-eyed running back, and I think he's made maybe it was that bye week, that's something. Here's how we're going to use you, and now that you've seen the first half of the season, this is what you need to do in this league, and this is all happening as Nebraska gets into conference play. It's one thing to look good against the sparring partners, but Emmett Johnson's been better against Big Ten opponents. Isaiah Mosey in limited action, but has looked like a different running back. And as we've been wondering who 2 is, and we've even given up on who 2 is. I did see Quentin Ives yesterday get on the field briefly, but I think if there is a 2, it's got to be Mosey, and he's played reasonably well in limited action.
Mosey was good, and I'll tell you what, like there was an edge to Mekhi Nelson yesterday. With
a little bit too much of an edge on
with special teams. He was after somebody on the Northwestern side. And then I really like that check. I think it was a check down to him where it was a screenplay. He caught it and then he unloaded on somebody on the sideline, finished off that run. So he was pretty good. EJ was just the story yesterday along with special teams. Guys, I want to get your thoughts with Nebraska's front, how it kind of applies to this coming Saturday with Maeva and the skill, talent, Lemon and company, and then the backs that SC has. And SC's been weird because they were bully enough to do what they wanted to do against Michigan, and they looked completely different. They'll have a bye, but they're also the same team that got bullied by Illinois' offensive line. So what SC front are you going to see offensively and defensively? But what do you guys think of Northwestern's offensive line? And I ask this because they had their hands all over Nebraska's front. They did a good job of moving it. That's their identity. They're a 200-yard-a-game squad. Nebraska held them under that. But Nebraska's front, just 3 hurries, no tackles for loss, no sacks. Now, you did get the 2 key interceptions. So there was some effect. And just, I don't know. You're going to need a big-time ball game from your front 7 next Saturday night.
Well, if you're just a box score watcher, I think you'll look at the stats from Northwestern running the football, the lack of hurries, lack of pressure, and say, man, I don't think Nebraska's defense.
Nebraska played better.
You would say I don't think Nebraska's D-line had a great day. If you watch, I think Nebraska's D-line had an improved day. They were better against the run. Yeah. I thought they did a better job keeping offensive linemen off of the linebackers, keeping the linebackers free to go make plays. From a pass rush point of view, I think they were a little bit handcuffed by the fact that they were playing the run so hard all day long. Like when Northwestern's passing attack had success, it was because it was in reasonable down and distance where they would be running the football. Whenever they were in clear pass it situations, I think Nebraska's defensive line did a better job getting a little bit of harassment on Preston Stone. But it was an improved day from the Nebraska defensive line. Was it great? No, but it was improved. And it was the type of day from them, especially against the run. Like it stood out to me how well they were eating up blocks on the inside and keeping Nebraska's linebackers free to go make plays. And based on what I've seen so far this season, that is an improved performance from them just to do that. Because Nebraska's defense or linebackers have been getting killed by offensive linemen all season long. You didn't see as much of that yesterday.
Yeah, I thought first of all, I think because of they matched a little bit of Northwestern's physicality, and because of that, Northwestern put the ball in the hands of Preston Stone. That's not the way to go. Now, Nebraska also did a good job of taking away the middle of the field because Stone was always looking for Wild in the middle of the field, and he wasn't very good on the numbers outside. But I thought Northwestern, they weren't imposing their will up front, and they said, let's turn it over to Preston Stone. Now, they still ran for 172, and we had the bust on a run that ended in a touchdown.
How maddening was that, real quick? Where you have about 8 guys around him and no one sees the football and he just bumper cars it and then shoots outside. Sorry, continue.
No, that's I think the vision, there's been some times this year where guys are not cognizant of where the football is and they make a weird play. But I thought Northwestern gave Nebraska a break. They stopped with their physical run it right down at Nebraska, and they played into Nebraska's hands. And I think Nebraska did a good job of basically making the line of scrimmage on key situations a stalemate. The other thing I noticed yesterday, and maybe you guys observed it as well, there were a lot of guys that played. There were a ton of guys that played on that defensive line. They were rotating like they did against Cincinnati. I think everybody that is in the 3 deep and maybe the 4 got an opportunity to play on the defensive line in the first 3 quarters.
No, they brought him in, and some names you hadn't seen or heard for a while got in, but they're getting more comfortable with Hoofkin. He's playing earlier. Gabe Moore always gets freaking held. Like that guy's at the point of attack, and they're not running at him clearly, but they're running away from him or trying to get to the edge. And Gabe's trying to get out there, and there's always hands on him. But I know that's offensive line play, but guy gets held a lot, especially on that interior. It's like he's at arm's length to go make a play on the ball carrier, and he can't move because someone's bear hugging him. They're coming up from behind and bear hugging the guy. You got Petschak that is getting in, and he's continued to get more comfortable. But Van Poppel had a good day yesterday, which was nice for him. He's going to need to be an emergent, I believe, this when we talk November and what's the record going to be by the end of the season. You need a strong November from Riley Van Poppel because that guy's got a lot of talent. And then McCullough. McCullough is kind of your dude off the edge right there. And I still really like watching, and I've mentioned the entire freaking defensive line here, but Keona, and I think Keona does a good job of just battling, man. He does a nice job. And then Winery, he's been a bit hampered with some foot issues, but he continues to just be a freak. And he came up big on that 3rd down with the hurry, that forced the incompletion. Yeah. So now can the defensive line close this season at a higher level?
There were a few times that Nebraska came out in 3-man defensive fronts on 1st down, and I, sitting watching my TV, was about to throw a brick through it. But I thought the scheme was better. They pulled out some 5-man defensive fronts at times, and not like a 4-man defensive front plus McCullough. It was a true 5 defensive linemen all hand in the dirt on first down against Northwestern's run. And I sat there and went, thank you. It's what Nebraska's defensive line is going to need against a team that
you had your buddy Ryan sweater on, did you? You're saying, give me some more bear.
Lined up Junior Menares and Mike Murray at the nose tackle position.
Yeah, but then they got caught a couple of times for some reason playing a 3-man front on third down. I tell you what, if I'm third and short against Nebraska, I'm quarterback sneaking.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's like 2 or 3 yards, Nebraska can't stop. Nebraska can't stop movement on third down up front. I don't know. They made plays when they needed to make plays. I think Riley Van Poppel probably is the epitome of the Nebraska defensive line. They're still young. It's the wrong conference to be young in, making that transition where you are so young up front and guys are not 320-pound, can't move them. They're 280 and growing. Is look at Van Poppel. We've wondered where he's been all season long because he has ridden the roller coaster. And I don't know if there's something going on because he's nowhere close to what I thought he would be or what we've seen. But yesterday at the beginning of the game, he really struggled. He draws a penalty. And then he had a chance to recover a fumble. He had it right there. He had redemption. Like what on the following play, wasn't it? And could not secure it. Then he will make a play. And then he'll get sideways and push 4 yards. And then he'll turn around and he'll make a big play. So he's kind of the epitome of what the defensive line is. There's something there, but it's not there every snap. And you hope that they cross over the wall and all of a sudden you played 8 football games and here we go. But I'll be curious to see what they do Saturday night against USC if they have as extensive defensive line rotation, because another guy, Schmidt, you didn't mention, Ashton Murphy played in the first half. Yeah, they played nearly everybody that is in that 3 or 4 man deep, it appeared.
And I wonder, Gary, if there was such a significant rotation defensively, because it's who's auditioning for November. And who can we rely on next week when we're going to go against a much more athletic team, both along the lines as well as their skill position players, who can get some experience, who's going to step up, and who can play under the bright lights on November 1st. When we're probably going to have to rotate. We're going to have people who are going to be able to chase down backs, receivers, quarterback. Maeva's is elusive. That I wonder if yesterday was who's in. Who can we rely on? Who can give us depth? So it's not relying on and hoping 5 plays like he's supposed to and has to have significant snaps, that it's more of a 25 to 35 snaps per guy along that defensive line. I wonder if that's part of the idea.
How do you guys feel about this defensive line game plan wise against a USC team that Nebraska hasn't played many teams this year that pass to set up the run? They've played a lot of teams that want to run to set up the pass. That's the Big Ten for you. Maybe the last time Nebraska, I guess Maryland passed to set up the run, I feel like. And they came out with a stronger running identity in that game. And I think you can expect that USC will probably have more runs in the playbook on Saturday than they would in a traditional game. But I think whenever Nebraska has played that style of game, Michigan State a little bit too, pass to set up the run, it plays in Nebraska's favor. Do you guys think that defensive line can have a good game against a USC team that, again, they're probably going to run the ball more than they usually do, but that's not their offensive identity?
That's a good question, man. If I'm USC, I am quarterback running. I'm zone reading. I'm getting downhill with my backs, and I'm letting Maeva move out of the pocket. And I think if they're not affected early, if they get settled in, SC's offense can do a lot. I mean, SC could have beaten Notre Dame, and they pissed themselves in that second half. And the other side of it is Nebraska doesn't have the offensive line or the 1-2 punch like Notre Dame does to run it. They've got Emmett, and at least they ran the football yesterday if you're Nebraska. But, I mean, you saw what Notre Dame did to control that football game. They just hammered away, and they were just ripping off big run after big run. When I think of USC, I think they've got about 8 to 10 Williams Wineries, okay? That freak athletic dude across the line, and they're probably 8 deep of that body type and athleticism. They have got some twitchy, physical guys, but they've shown the ability to not like getting punched in the face. So to me, that's how you go about it. But to your original question, if I'm SC, I can do what the hell I want. I can just run the football with my quarterback, my backs, and then play action it. And the skill guys are problematic. So I don't have a great initial Sunday feel for next Saturday night.
Well, they won the game last year because they took advantage of Nebraska's secondary, and they got those receivers that are 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", and they took advantage of Nebraska's defensive backs, 5'7", 5'8", and just threw the ball high. They went up and got it, and then Nebraska had a few misplays offensively that a headier play by certain players would have sustained drives. Mm-hmm. So Nebraska played itself out of a win last year, and USC took care of mismatches. Now, the strength of Nebraska's defense is the secondary with Sierra Wright and Andrew Marshall and Donovan Jones having the game like he did. It doesn't look like Hartzog is coming back anytime soon, but if he does come back, he's not going to be playing cornerback like he did last year, and that's where they picked him apart. So it could be they try to do what they did last year, see if the secondary can challenge their receivers. And I think this year Nebraska's secondary is better. I
think there's a couple of factors in play. One, that defensive line for Nebraska is going to have to be good, because I think you're going to get it. So USC, they're coming off a bye week, and what has happened during the bye week? They've got alums that are questioning their physicality about the way they played against Notre Dame. So does Lincoln Riley listen to that and they try and establish more physicality, or do they play to their strengths? Which if I'm from USC's perspective, and remember, Lincoln Riley is going to call enough dumb plays that he's going to keep Nebraska in this game. Okay, that's just how it is. You when he calls a dumb play, you have to take advantage of it, like Notre Dame did. But if I'm Lincoln Riley and I'm calling plays, I'm finding, where is Watson Trent? Is Watson Trent on the field? Can Nebraska's linebackers cover my wide receivers? If we put them in those situations, and you're nodding your head in the right way, Schmidt, no. So that defensive line is going to have to be really, really good. I don't know. This is a very interesting. Lincoln Riley's going to give you opportunities in this game, and can Nebraska walk through the door and take advantage of those? Because that's what a USC football is these days. But it's let me pose this question to you guys, because Nebraska's 6-2, and yes, they are bowl eligible. Is Saturday night a season perception changer?
Yeah.
For a win.
Yes.
For a loss, maybe not as much, but for a win, yes.
As big as and as down as the Minnesota game was in the aftermath, how it shook a lot of Nebraska fans, that you were beyond this, what's going on, you're questioning direction, is this team tough? I mean, think of all the questions, all the scabs that got picked. It's the complete opposite. It's not going to vault you to a playoff spot, but SC's got money, they have dudes, they have talent, they have investment. They've just underachieved. They should be a playoff team the last 3 years, and they've jacked around, and they're 8-4. So you go with what you have on your roster at this point. It is absolutely a definer in a positive sense. I don't think you're expected to win this game, but go play your ass off and see where it goes. You win it, and I think the people are fired back up.
To your point, Schmidt, the early line I'm seeing is USC by 4.5. How does it strike you?
I mean, right now I'm thinking it's 10-point ball game, but
really,
it should be a 10-point ball game. I think SC's that much more talented, but I think there's some truth into SC. They play with their food. They don't put you away. They are the classic underachiever that should beat you by 100, but they don't have a Pete Carroll mentality on that squad or in that locker room.
I think this is a 10-point game if you're playing in LA. USC struggles.
I know they do. That's why it's 4.5. And Nebraska has a great chance to win this ball game. I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, not intentionally, but I can see, is SC going to snap their fingers and magically stabilize as a team that has a killer instinct and is going to go out and just crush you with their talent? They're going to out-tough you? No, they won't. Is Nebraska good enough? Can they find a way to out-physical somebody? That's how Nebraska wins Saturday.
So what is USC? So what are the stat I hear? Between 2013 and 2024, they hadn't won a football game in the Eastern or Central time zone. I think they're 1-2 this year. Now, it doesn't make a big deal. It's 4:30 to them when this game kicks off, but they're on the road. And I'll tell you, there'll be a lot of people watching this game on both fan bases. I think this is a good litmus test. Sure. Because Nebraska could cause some problems in Los Angeles by beating USC.
Yes, they could. And I'm not sure what SC we'll see. Is it going to be the SC that got outplayed by Illinois, had the lead, couldn't hold it, but gave up a boatload of rushing yards, and then their manhood got questioned, so they come out and they're angry and physical and tough, and they beat Michigan? That's the most shocking thing I'm looking right now at USC's schedule, is they responded after being called out.
Yep.
And out Michigan. And then they couldn't do it 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Because they got lit up by Notre Dame. Well, they got a week off, and here comes the road trip to Nebraska.
And the difference I see, they had Michigan at home, they had Notre Dame on the road. Cross-country travel, if we've seen anything in the last 2 years of the Big Ten, is no joke. And USC's going across the country, and they're going to go play in front of what I think is going to be a pretty raucous Nebraska crowd. You get a night game in November, the Husker crowd is going to be, I think, on one next Saturday. How do they stand up? How do they respond to that?
If they get up by 2 scores in the first quarter, Nebraska's not going to be able to go back up the hill again. I don't see that happening. If Nebraska scores first, crowd's into it, that might help out. I don't know if they'll be deterred necessarily by the whole thing, but if USC gets up early in the first quarter and silences that crowd, and it's an uphill fight for Nebraska's crowd to get back into the game, you're not going to have the officials like they did yesterday. I think that might be kind of tough. But if Nebraska scores first, crowd's into it, get some momentum, and maybe they will pack it in. Who knows? And maybe Lincoln Riley will end up at LSU like everybody thought he was going to a couple of years ago.
Well, as SC, I don't know what their respect level is. I know they were in a tight one against Nebraska last year, but SC, they respect Michigan. Yeah, they respect Illinois, or at least they learned to respect Illinois. And they obviously have the rivalry with Notre Dame. What's USC's mentality towards Nebraska?
Well, I think it's a mentality. We just got kicked we blew a game against Notre Dame, and we're back on NBC for the second straight game. I would hope in this game, because this will be it'll be fun to discuss all week. The second meeting between Raiola and Maeva, and that was his first start last year. Maeva's is Nebraska doesn't have a double-headed running back combo like Notre Dame does. But if you happen to watch that game last week at night, Notre Dame committed to running the ball. And guys, they ran for over 300 yards. I know it's tempting to say, Dylan, let's throw some intermediates. Well, Nebraska's wide receivers are having trouble against Big Ten defensive backs getting loose. And Dylan can't throw a ball 15-plus yards down the field. Man, pound the rock. Bring everybody out and have them stand around Callahan's Rock outside of the Hawks championship facility this week and go, guys, this is how we beat USC. We beat USC by playing Nebraska football, not Southern California football. I hope they commit to the run and they don't give up on it, because I think there are chances for them to run the football, but it's going to take everybody. And it's also probably going to take a good health report this week on the tackles. Teddy's career is probably over at Nebraska. Gatula, that was something we were not anticipating. Corcoran actually played pretty well.
He did.
He played pretty well. And, Pritchett was Pritchett, but man, they can't afford to go down a tackle or to have somebody that is, loose in the shorts and not playing well. I mean, it's a big game. It's a not only I think a perception changer, but I think an individual perception changer, because you're an underdog at home, And I agree with what Schmidt and Elijah guys were talking about. If you want to put all of the numbers together that the guys in Vegas do, this probably should be like a 9-point spread. So
just from a roster and a talent comparison, for sure.
Yeah, and it's a night game. It's going to be juiced. They're asking people that, are under the age of 80 to wear black. People over the age of 80 have always worn red or white or their gear, so they're going to wear it, so don't try. It's just you need to win one of these games if you're Nebraska. Well, I don't care how it looks. You just need to win one of these games.
Is this a signature win potential for Rule? He hasn't really had one in his Nebraska career. Would this be a signature win if Nebraska gets it done?
Yeah, you can't have Matt Rule. His 2 signature wins at Nebraska in the first game of a season or the second game in a season.
Well, his post game last night, he was already pumping up. I mean, he wants the showcase, wants the spotlight for his football team, and already talking about 6:30 NBC. Going to be
it's great. It's great.
55 degrees. We all remember 07. Stanley Havili, 3 straight fullback traps. Pete Carroll, middle finger and no. Billy Callahan. We're going to run 3 straight Nebraska plays, go 80 yards, and kill the crowd.
Game was over. That's what Nebraska can't happen again on Saturday. If USC goes down and marches and squeezes the juice out of the crowd, that game is going to be over in the first quarter. That's what Nebraska has to avoid. And if Nebraska can score on its opening drive, keep the crowd in it, maybe get a big special teams play, which we all know is now possible, whether it be a block, whether it be a big return or a return for a touchdown, that kind of thing will linger. And I think it will be a mental thing for USC. I don't think they have the Pete Carroll mentality with Lincoln Riley. I think they can get down, and I think they can stay down.
By the way, guys, in terms of national attention for a potential signature win, the games you're up against next week, you've got Georgia Tech playing NC State. You've got Oklahoma at Tennessee. You've got Washington State at Oregon State, and you've got Wake Forest in Florida State. Those are the games.
You're it for a monster number.
Isn't Texas Vandy this week too?
I don't think it's that prime time. I don't think that's prime time.
Because I think Texas, by the way, is a favorite in that game.
Yeah, Texas and Vandy is 11 a.m. on ABC.
Okay.
Is Sarkisian interviewing for the Titans job while he's there, or what?
Yeah, how do you do that? Do you leave a day early with the team, saying, "Let's go check out Nashville, fellas? Mind your chaperones."
Jeez, there might not be a bigger choke job in college football this year than what they did in Starkville yesterday.
Oh, that was bad.
Oh, yeah,
that was horrible.
Yeah,
boy, everything, like, if you're gonna blow a lead like that, here you go. Here's an envelope of how you do it. They opened it up and said, "Okay, give me a pen. Let's mark off the first one, and then let's mark off the second one."
Well,
and then it blows.
Touchdown.
Hey, then it blows me away. This is a Nebraska thing too, and is how teams are so unprepared for overtime. Like, don't have a collection of plays to run in overtime when it's 25 and in. Maybe it's a direct result of your struggle in the red zone with calling plays. But, Nebraska was not prepared last year against Illinois to play in overtime. Mississippi State was not prepared to play in overtime. I have no idea what plays they were calling. If that was the guy that was sitting in section 32 that got an opportunity to call plays in overtime because he won it at an auction in the offseason. But, man, teams in overtime, they are not prepared to play. And the teams that are prepared to play, that shows it. And maybe it's just a direct correlation that they're good in the red zone. But I don't know. This is a big week. And I'm glad this is a big week. And we need all of us to lean into this as a big game for Nebraska. Build it up. Prime time, nighttime, day after Halloween. November 1, the month to remember is November. And Nebraska got there at 6-2. And here we go.
Here's what you can't have, though. You can't have a performance like LSU turned in last night at home under the lights on the primetime stage and have your fans gone by the start of the fourth quarter and the Aggie marching hymn or whatever it is that they do down there, the cult of A&M going crazy and having all their songs ringing throughout Death Valley. That loss last night by LSU was stunning for how the LSU fans responded and what's going to happen now. I mean, the coaching carousel this season is amazing. Those storylines, those sidebars, and the amount of money owed to them. And then after that game's over with, as I turn the conversation to coaches, if you tuned in to watch Utah and Colorado last night, I mean, it is stunning, the collapse of Colorado football under Deion Sanders. And I'm going back to when they beat Nebraska in Boulder a couple of years ago. And all of college football is like, oh my God, this is the direction of the sport from here on out. Colorado is the epicenter of college football. Game Day and Big Noon both did shows from there. That was the high point. And after that, yeah, they went to a bowl game, had 9 wins last season, but they're 17-16 or 16-17 in his tenure, and they're 43-0 at halftime, and he's going after the game. I don't know what happened. I mean, that was amazing to watch those two games, LSU and Colorado last night.
Let me ask you real quick: we know that Penn State's open. We know that there's talk about other big time programs opening up. Florida's open. Is LSU going to go Goodfellas here on the Southern Gentleman, or do you think he survives
$56 million? I don't know.
Into the season.
They've got the money, but I don't know.
Did they make a move? Because he ain't working. He ain't working down there.
No, and it's not a fit, and the fans are turning on you. Now will his players turn on him? I mean, they had huge expectations. I think this is what we're seeing is you come to me as a head coach and you say, hey, I need this, this, and this. And your athletic director goes out and finds this, this, and this, and he gives it to you. And if you are not successful when you have all the resources you asked for, you're going to the unemployment line. That's what happened in Florida. Napier said, I need this, this, and this. Scott Strickland went out and got this, this, and this. James Franklin said, hey, I need this, this, and this. Pat Kraft went and got this, 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 and this. Mm-hmm. That's what they did at LSU. They built this roster to go to the playoff this year. They're not going to the playoff. And so if I got you everything you wanted and you still couldn't be successful, I got to find somebody else.
Well,
and
there's a timeline.
And you know what? And when you get it, and here's the thing: when you get embarrassed, you will find money to say, "Hey, let's part ways." You know, I mean, you can't be embarrassed. You know, and some places though, they don't have the means, and so they're stuck. And so you have to then go, okay, how do we support this guy? You know, look at Wisconsin. Wisconsin, by the way, they are essentially a lesser 2009 Nebraska team. Incredible defense, but they
hung around last night.
They have no offense. It's painful to watch them offensively. Now, I was very excited because I took the over team total of 3.5, which is very low, and they were able to get a junk touchdown. But like at Wisconsin, you know, Wisconsin, they've stalled, or they never really got started under Fickle. And, you know, the buyout isn't as much, but is that money there? So it's a weird world. I think the next phase of buyouts with coaches, those buyouts are going to be less, and the coaching salaries might be a little bit less because they're going to say, let's spend on players.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So it's a weird world right now, but man, there's probably some more dominoes that are going to fall. And, you know, even if you think your coach is tied to you and he loves you, there might be a job that opens that he really loves and they love him. And all of a sudden you're looking for a new head coach.
This is not the year to
foreshadowing.
This is not the year to be looking for a new head coach too. It's going to be a wild coaching carousel.
You're going to get some guys that are going to get recycled. and maybe end up in better jobs after hitting the lottery ticket and getting bleep canned from their current gig.
Well, if Joe Brady was one of the forerunners for the Penn State job, I would bet that down at LSU, they would like to talk to him because he was the offensive coordinator during that Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. He was the OC there, and I would bet that there's people down there that are reminiscing and thinking, come on down. And now you're going to get into a bidding war for Buffalo's offensive coordinator. And if he goes to LSU, then, okay, that's one domino that's no longer in play at Penn State. I still think Matt Rule leaves Nebraska for ESPN, but that's another story for another time.
This season, huh?
I don't know if it's this season, but I think that's his next gig. But I with what's going on at LSU, who knows if USC has a collapse, maybe they finally say we're going to move on from Lincoln Riley. There's going to be another big name or two that's not going to be around. And maybe that's even at Colorado. Not that the Colorado is a coveted job. Deion Sanders made it sexy for a little while, but that job might be open they're not going to fire him. And by the way, they gave him a new contract for $50 million in earlier this year. I think he got a 5-year, $50 million bump or something like that. So they don't have the money to pay off Deion Sanders.
Well, and remember, you got Florida State that's going to make a decision on their program at the end of the year. Right. I think what this is an athletic director. Like if you're Troy Dannon, for example, and who knows what's going to happen with Rule. I mean, we got another month, and he's still a favorite in Penn State. And whatever he decides to do, you have to, as an athletic director, whether you're Troy Dannon or somebody else, you got to be ready to go right away. You got to have your list. You got to have your contact. You have already probably had to reach out and say, if our job is open, would your client be interested? Because the cycle's going to, one domino falls, they all start to fall, and you got to be ready to have your guy in place because, you're looking at that portal window. You're looking at a staff hiring. You're looking at signing and keeping a recruiting class together in high school if you're still into high school recruiting. It's the value of the athletic director, I think, will become pretty important over the next month and a half in college athletics, if it wasn't already.
You can go with a guy that's anxious to get back into to Big Ten conference play after being ousted, or you can go get a sitting head coach that has a roster that he can bring with him and go the SIG route. So just
or you go, or you look around and go, okay, what quarterbacks with eligibility are really, really good? And is their coach good enough that I would like to hire him, that he could get off to a head start by bringing in the head coach along with his quarterback? Like how many people are looking at North Texas playing the other night going, hey, does that quarterback have any eligibility left? That coach is having a nice season. He's already got a nice little history of quarterbacks from Cam Ward and some others and John Mateer that he has mentored or coached. Let's see if that quarterback has eligibility. We'd love to have both of them here. That's why people bring up Pat Fitzgerald a lot, and they did yesterday, thinking, boy, where could he go? Does it hurt Pat Fitzgerald that he hasn't played in the world of the portal and NIL and rev share? He can't bring anybody with him thinking, hey, Signetti, let's use the Signetti plan. Well, Signetti's a unicorn.
Yeah, that's 1,000% it. I mean, Lincoln Riley did it, didn't he? And I mean, it worked for a little bit. But
he brought a Heisman Trophy winner with him.
Yeah, and they didn't win as much as they could have or should have with it. I mean, hell, the second year with him, they went 8-4. So
I don't know. Maybe some coaches, though, go, man, the grass isn't always greener. I got a good setup here. I got a good deal with my athletic director. They're not pushing me out the door. I know what I'm doing,
There's happiness.
Silly season, buyout season, people getting paid season, Jimmy Sexton season.
Yeah.
There's a hot coordinator somewhere, Brian Hartline at Ohio State, and the dude at Vanderbilt ain't staying there. That's not going to happen. His name will be a commodity, just like James Franklin, capitalized on what he did there to go to Penn State. So that'll be another big name in the business.
I like Fish a lot. Does he stay at Washington or does he look around?
His name will be attached to UCLA
because that's where he was at.
Yeah. But
I mean, you don't trade Washington for UCLA though.
That'd be tough.
I mean, I wouldn't.
I don't know what his he values.
Mhm.
But there's also the domino that we were talking about earlier. What if Sark is a real candidate for an NFL job?
They all want the hell out of college.
That's a monster job that all of a sudden opens with a quarterback who,
needs fixed.
or at least you'd have a quarterback. Like Texas would become the job. It's the year of blue blood jobs opening up. It will be fascinating on who gets those. Do we get retreads or do we get new people? Bill, you brought up Brian Hartline. Yeah, hell yeah. But who's going to take a chance on him? Because he isn't dropping down to the MAC to come back to the Big Ten.
Right. Is he the next Dan Lanning? The next coordinator that gets the job. Kirby Smart goes from coordinator, gets the big job. And that's what ADs are looking for, is that coordinator. Now, why you would probably stay away from a Hartline, I would suppose, is for the same reason people are afraid about Matt Rule leaving Nebraska. If Ryan Day leaves Ohio State, Brian Hartline will be the next Ohio State head coach.
Does Ohio State play ever? Like, is Ohio State football played any games? Like, it seems like they never play. But yet, when they do play, they're the most dominant team in college football, along with Indiana. But it never, like, I was going to check in on Sayan yesterday. No, they're off before they play Penn State. And I'm like, didn't they just have a bye week? Seriously, when you're that good and they've just destroyed teams.
Just show highlights of them. 31-7 Ohio State leads.
How many casual fans outside of their fan base have watched them play a full game post-Texas?
Watched him against Washington. But that's the Iron Horse. It's Gary Sharp, the pride of Fairbury, Bill Doleman, number one Bronco fan. Bout said donkey. Number one Bronco fan.
Got so lucky last week.
Elijah Herbel, Chris Schmidt. Sunday Live, Average Joe Sports Show.
People
As we
want
wind
the
it down.
People want the Gertie update.
Oh. Me and her little brother Sterling were out in the fields after the Real Red Reaction show. There was a flurry of activity. My brother-in-law, Uncle Andy, and my wife were out there with Carson. Gertie's still in that vicinity between Pine Lake and Yankee Hill, 98th Street. So she was spotted by Uncle Andy near kind of an animal pen with a couple of donkeys. And she took off.
Like real donkeys?
Yeah, little mini donkeys. So there's a lot of folks that have acreages east of town. Then she was in the field by that Pine Lake water tower, just kind of west of Hidden Valley Golf Course. So that's where I saw her, and we kind of started following her. And then she went into a field, and then she went into a tree line, and I sat out there for about an hour and then went and grabbed a quick bite. And then we went out last night, me and Sterling, and just kind of sat in the dark. The folks that live around here, these areas are just the best. They are so good. Just, hey, hop onto the property anytime you want. So we've got a trap set up near some water. It's an animal control trap that has Gertie's favorite orange ball, her bed, in there, and a lot of turkey. Checked the trap last night, checked the trap early this morning. So we're going to go back out here after the show winds down, and hopefully she's been spotted more 2 to 3-ish in the afternoon, and she just kind of just keeps on navigating. But yeah, former Husker Adam Carricker is out that way, and his wife and him were the footage I posted. That was their backyard where Gertie was hanging out with a coyote, and I was like, I'm a little scared there. I checked with a couple of animal experts, and they're like, no, the coyote, knocking on wood, won't mess with old Gertie. And she was just kind of trotting around with a coyote yesterday. And then I saw her sneak into the tree line, and then Sterling, I think, can smell her, so pretty well. So he picked up a little bit of a scent this morning when we were out, but we're going to go back out and hopefully get her. But she's alive and bouncing around and laughing her ass off at her entire family chasing her around. So that's the update.
That's amazing.
The crazy part is that she's out hanging with a coyote.
Well, you saw it.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, I mean, she's limping around a little bit, but she's fast enough to say, "Oh, have fun, Carson. Let's see you keep up with me." Take off.
Mm.
She goes, Kenneth Williams, not to the house, away from any family. So, but we'll get her. She's doing okay. So, we think. Yeah, Russell, laugh out loud. That's funny. Gertie's punking the family.
To backtrack here 2 seconds, I do want to say, Gary, despite your disparaging comments about my Denver Broncos, I do want to say thank you for kicking the hell out of the Raiders. Anytime the Raiders lose a football game, it's a good day for me. And the way that they just got the snot beat out of them was fun to witness. So I'll be nice and I'll say thank you for doing that.
Okay. All right. So we share something in common, but
yeah, I won't talk about Monday Night Football. I won't give my true feelings on that one, but hopefully the Broncos get a big one today against the Cowboys. Best offense in football against the best defense in football. With unstoppable force versus immovable object. Which one breaks? We'll see.
Oh, on a side note, we have a dear friend who his wife, huge Cowboys fan, she had an opportunity to fly out in a private jet with some season ticket holders of the Dallas Cowboys today to see the Dallas Denver game. And her husband says, we can't go because he had a company outing planned. It was a short notice, but hey, do you want to go to the Cowboys game? So as soon as we're done here, I'm going to send her, a little Jerry Jones gift just to rub it in and be that a-hole. Think about that, where you have sweet seats locked in. You get a 45-minute ride to Denver International. Then you jump in a Sprinter van. You get dropped off, and you're watching Dallas and Denver today. And I said, well, Carla, Elijah can go with you. Jared can't go.
Well, I'll just let you know right now. If there was a company outing planned and I had an opportunity for a private jet to take me to Denver to watch my
calling
Broncos,
a bomb threat is what I do.
I'm quitting my damn job. I love you guys. I love you guys. But if you guys had a chance to go to the Broncos game on a private jet, bye-bye.
It's pretty good. We'll be back at you next time, and it is Nebraska USC week. Soak it in. Going to be awesome. Saturday night, we'll be here back at you to bring you through it. Of course, catch Gary Sharp, Gary and Matt, 6 to 10. 6 to 10 on 1620 Monday through Friday. Elijah and I back at it on the Average Joe Sports Show on KFOR and the Average Joe Network 4 to 6 tomorrow. Weekend edition, we'll be back at the Single Barrel Saturday. Had a kickoff on Saturday. And then Sunday Live, we'll see where Nebraska's at here a week from today. If they're at win number 7 or they're at 6-3 with 1 down and 3 more to go in November. For the Pride of Fairbury, for the Iron Horse, for number 1 Denver fan, Chris Schmidt, saying thanks for tuning into the Average Joe Sports Show. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, on Twitter, AJ Sports Radio. We'll talk to you next time.